Do you prioritize one child over the other? A younger child over an older child? How careful are you with these matters? Let's discuss this soon. But first, chapter Tehillim, to thank God and to pray to God. Make the final miracle. Chapter 100, Mizmor l'Chazdai, v'yadei v'dei remunasai. Let's give some tzedakah. And let me explain what I'm referring to. In the end, last week's parsha, actually I should say, although it's still, we read it in Shemois, but you know, when you conclude the Talmud, a tractate in Talmud, you say, Hadron alach, we will return to you. So let me return for a moment to Vaychi, especially since we said Chazak, strengthen yourself in the messages of Vaychi. So I want to focus for a moment on the story how Yaakov blessed his grandchildren. We spoke last week about one of the children. Today I want to speak about the grandchildren. Yosef's children. Yosef had two sons, Manasseh and Ephraim. Manasseh was the older one, Ephraim was the younger one. Both of them born and raised in Egypt, yet their stature, they were as pious as the children of Yaakov himself, and in fact he says them so. They're like my own children, and in fact they became part of the 12 tribes. Sometimes we count Ephraim and Manasseh amongst the 12 tribes. But when Yosef finds out that his father is nearing his end journey on this earth, he wants to make sure to say farewell and wants to make sure that his children get blessed by their grandfather. So Yosef brings Manasseh and Ephraim. He places them in front of Yaakov. Manasseh the older, so obviously places him on the right side of his father. Ephraim the younger one, he places him on the left side of his father, as it should be. So Yaakov, before he starts blessing them, he turns his hand. And he puts his right hand on the head of of Ephraim, the younger one, and the left hand on the head of Manasseh. Yosef sees that father is reversing the role of the age, so he says, Father, Manasseh is the older one, and he deserves to be first right. So Yaakov says, I'm aware, but nevertheless, I choose to do it this way. And don't worry, Manasseh will also be great. And he goes on to say the blessing, which becomes actually the blessing that every child, every parent blesses his children whenever you do it. Some people do it every Friday, some people do it once every Yom Kippur, or whenever it is. Yisimcha Elokim Ephraim and Manasseh. The blessing becomes, may God make you as Ephraim, as Ephraim and Manasseh. This is the blessing, the traditional blessing that we bless our children with. Excuse me. And this has become the eternal blessing. Now, why would Yaakov change the age here? Yaakov himself suffered because of birthright issues. Briefly, Manasseh is called Manasseh because Yosef says, God has made me forget my pain and remember my father's house. Ephraim is called Ephraim ki hifrani Elokim. I became successful. I became fruitful in Egypt. When he had those two children, so he was able to put the past in focus and focusing on the continuity. Says Yaakov the following: memory is extremely important. We must remember where we come from. We have to remember who we are. We have to remember who our DNA is, that we are descendants of Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, and so on. No question about it. But we cannot focus only on past. First step is indeed, the firstborn is remembering the past. But if the past is detached from the future, then the past becomes meaningless. So Yaakov does not change the place of Manasseh and Ephraim, putting Manasseh on the left side and Ephraim on the right side. No, Manasseh is still first. But focus has to be on Ephraim, on building, on being, accomplishing, not just on, I had a wonderful past. So it's not enough to delve on the past exile. We have to focus on the imminent construction of the Beis Hamikdash. And may this be today.